So here we are. Thank God it's finally clouded over after being around 36 degrees Celsius all damn day. And here's what I've been doing to the vending machine all damn weekend. And I'd like to point out I've been wearing coveralls, so that's legit sweat that you see in my thumbnail here. But anyways, what has happened? Well, as the first thing you might notice, we're missing the bottom. And that's because the bottom is missing over there. As you might also notice, it's grayer here and whiter over there. This is all rust treatment. All I've been doing all weekend is just rust treatment. And so far, this is the only real damage here. That can just be bondoed, then sanded, and we should be good there. And looking around over here, all the rust in here has been, for the most part, ground away. Then the rust converter's been sprayed on, and then a rust inhibitor's been sprayed on. Same goes for the whole bottom here. There's a couple of holes here. I'm not going to really care about those. There's actually a significant amount of water that was still in this thing, so the insulation needs to be quite thoroughly dried, so it'll stay out here. You may also have noticed it's on its side now, and that's because I have it sitting on two sawhorses. But this is the bottom plate here, and just to remind you what it used to look like, this here is the sheet metal that the compressor used to sit on. It's bad on this side. It's even worse on the inside, but that was held in with a dozen screws, and those all came out without breaking. Same thing over here, a dozen screws, and not a single one broke. Some of them did need a couple of good love taps before they'd loosen up, but I'm still, again, there's so few places where I can say there's welds in this thing. Like this bracket here, this is welded in clearly, but the whole bottom, like bolting in like that, cool. Anyways, so this is the bottom now. Again, two different types of rust paint I've applied here. There's this grayish type, and then there's this faux red oxide. There's these three nasty holes here, and I'll explain this because, again, when I was taking the screws out of here, I was still getting water coming out of this. So clearly there was a cavity in here that was still full of water, and once that dried out, I could shake it around and it sounded like there was rust rattling around. So I had to cut these holes, this one here to first scoop out that stuff, second one here, tried to get it out, and then I realized there's this metal piece right here, which isn't present on the back. So I had to cut this hole here, and I was able to scoop out of there. Looks ugly, I know. That sheet metal is not going back into the machine. I'm going to have to cut a brand new piece, and that goes in right over, and it hides all of that, so these holes will be completely invisible. Now, I had 4 bolts, which did not come out, and surprise, those were the feet, the adjustable feet, that is. And even though this one here, you can see I've drilled a hole, and I've tried to actually get the threads out. Nope, can't do that. It's in there, and it's in there good. So unless I need to figure out a way to like level this thing, they're staying in there. But I've already tapped and put a bit of a pre-drill on it, so in the future it's not going to be that much of an issue to try and get that out. And then there's a couple other odds and ends here, which have also been stripped and painted. Again, red oxide or faux oxide paint being used here, just so I know to myself, this is one of the worst pieces for rust. These ones here cleaned up quite well. These are all drying. This is not primer. This is definitely not paint. This is just the rust treatment. I still have a lot of priming left to do on this thing. And there's more components, which would be these 3 pieces here. These I cannot do here because they're so intricate, or they're just so fragile at this point. I'm going to have to send those off to get sandblasted. And I'm going to have to figure out who exactly to do the sandblasting for me. And another problem I came up against, and that's here with my fantastic El Cheapo angle grinder, is that it was, well, El Cheapo. This is guaranteed not what you should be using on this. This is brush attachments rated for 8,500 RPM. This here is rated for 11,000 RPM. This here causes crazy amounts of vibration. I, again, don't encourage you to use this here because it vibrates like hell, and if it explodes, well, that's your fault. Anyways, it died on me, and I thought I'd burned out the motor on this. But in fact, I had to go and redo the connection from here and here, because in the strain relief, I managed to actually burn out the wiring by fraying internally. But that scared me for about an hour there. Still managed to get that done. There's a couple other odds and ends. Again, I've been pulling stuff off this thing slowly, just for cleaning. This is that fan I mentioned before. It still spins freely. But then you look on the backside and you realize that the motor has burned out. So this motor's no good. And then I realized it's spliced. This motor's been changed once before, and this one has also burned out. Now I'm curious because, again, this isn't seized. This isn't even like I'm not like working to make this twist. It just burns them out. So I'll have to look into that. Anyways, just wanted to make a short video on what the hell is going on here. I wanted to feel a little bit rewarded on what the hell I was doing. No, I'm not working on the door yet. The door did come off actually quite easily. Take off 3 bolts here on the hinge, if I can see that. There we go. And the whole door just kind of goes up about 1 inch and comes off its base. Okay, week 1 done.